All right, so we already know that Trudeau has stepped down, so I want to talk about Pierre today. I do want to talk about Pierre Poilievre. Over the course of Pierre Poilievre's career, he has voted 7 times against affordable housing initiatives, 8 times against union legislation to protect workers. He has voted 400 times against environmental initiatives. As housing minister, he has also backed policies that allowed corporate landlords to hike the prices of rent. So there goes your affordable housing. He has also sold 800,000 affordable renting units to corporate landlords, and he has consistently prioritized billionaires and foreign interests and corporations over the average hard-working Canadian. But honestly, I want to ask you guys this. Is Pierre Poilievre working for us, or is he working for them? Let's break it down. Every day I log into social media and I see new videos of Pierre. He's eating his apple in his interviews. He's smoking shisha. He's laughing. He's talking about axe attacks. We're going to fight against the elites. Meanwhile, the 20 years that he has worked in government, not only has he passed zero legislation, and I mean just zero legislation, which I have never even heard of that before. Previous examples, whether he was working as a housing minister or as an MP, he has only ever, and this is not like a conspiracy theory, I genuinely wanted to look into Pierre because I see a lot of people talking about how he's going to be the next great big leader of Canada. And I'm looking at his actions, I'm looking at the initiatives, and I'm like, am I the only one that sees that he is only ever backing corporations? I just can't fathom the idea of someone who can vote so many times against voting 400 times against environmental protections is insane. Or the fact that he has sold 800,000 rental units to private developers, and yet he'll be like, under Trudeau, the carbon tax, he makes housing so unaffordable for the average Canadian. But I'm like, you, as the housing minister, have made housing so unaffordable for the average Canadian. Like, what are we talking about here? It's just genuinely his track record. This is all public information. You can look up what Pierre has done in his 20 years of working in politics and see that it has not once ever benefited the average hardworking Canadian. And that to me is mind boggling. Always see videos of people are like, you know what, I like that Pierre guy. Like, he seems like a very understandable, relatable guy. Like, he seems like he understands what the average Canadian is going through. And I've seen those videos where people would ask him, you know, I can't pay my groceries, but I also can't pay rent. Like, which one should I spend my money on? And like, he'll give such diplomatic answers and essentially just dodging the answer altogether. But then when you actually look at what he's done, I was like, I don't even know why I'm surprised, but I'm sure a lot of people would be too if they realized that every single thing that the average Canadian would benefit from, he's voted against. Like social services, pharmacare, dental care. I can already see the privatization of Canadian healthcare. And mind you, healthcare is a provincial issue, but if your leader is someone who has a track record of selling off Canadian values to corporations and just constantly focusing on profits over people, I can quickly see our healthcare system already going down into the gutter. And that is such a scary thing to think about, whether it was the retirement age or trying to just diminish pension plans. And even the fact that he wants to turn retirement savings into investments. Imagine you have worked your whole life in this country. You know, you've worked on the farm for so many years, or you've worked in manufacturing for so many years. You finally retire, and then these billionaires that Pierre is advocating for, like, this is his genuine plan for retirement. Put your retirement savings into an investment. And in 1 year, because of some bad trades or whatever the case is, all your retirement savings are gone.
Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us.
I can only laugh. Like, I can only laugh because I'm like, whoa, this is a jump scare. I want to talk about the Liberal Party's track record under Trudeau, as well as Pierre's track record, and just how much I need Canadians to really lock in. It's very clear that there's going to be a snap election called over the next few months. I really need Canadians to look at what we're dealing with right now so we don't end up in the same situation as the states are. Sorry to anyone who follows me from America, but I'm looking at y'all and I'm not liking what I'm seeing. I'm not liking his previous track record and the fact that people saw that and said, yeah, let's do that again. So let's dive into what we know as facts. No, I'm not here to be like, I think. This is genuinely proof of what he has done. So we're going to talk about that today. It's up to everyone to make sure that they make the right informed decisions moving forward. Let's discuss the Liberal Party's track record, especially under Justin Trudeau. Love him or hate him, they have implemented some things that have benefited this country. I'm going to read off some of the things that they have done thus far. Number one, introduce the Canada Child Benefit, which gives more money to the families who need it most, lifting 435,000 kids out of poverty. They have banned 1,500 models of assault-style weapons. They've made the $10 a day Child Care Act a reality for all Canadian families. They restored the age of eligibility for old age security and the guaranteed income supplement to 65 after Stephen Harper raised it to 67. They introduced the EI parental sharing benefit to provide 5 extra weeks of benefits when parental leave is shared. They did also stand up for Canadians when it came to unfair steel and aluminum tariffs and the renegotiation of the new NAFTA. They lowered the small business tax rate from 11% to 9%. To make it easier for Canadians to start and grow small businesses. They reintroduced the census after, again, Stephen Harper took that away, which really helped Canadian scientists and made the largest investment in science in Canadian history. They also lowered income taxes on the middle class and raised them on the wealthiest 1% in this country. They also introduced the Canada's Workers Benefit to reduce barriers to employment for low-wage workers and expanded the benefit this year to support 1 million more workers and help lift nearly 100,000 out of poverty. They also took the first steps towards a national pharmacare system that will help reduce prescription drug costs for Canadians. And honestly, there's just so much more to that, but I just wanted to refer to the progress that I could find online. Now we're going to compare that to Pierre Poilievre's record. Pierre Poilievre has been in politics for over 20 years now and has passed zero legislation. Zero legislation. He has been in politics, as I said, for 20 years and has passed nothing.
What are you doing?
Nothing. Me? Just hanging around.
He's voted against affordable housing legislatives over and over again. In 2006, in 2009, in 2010, in 2013, in 2014, 2018, and 2019. That is 7 different times he has voted against trying to build affordable housing in this country. And yet, you expect him to lower the cost of rent, lower the cost of buying a home in this country when he's prime minister? That is the same housing crisis that he currently blames Trudeau for. It's very funny how that works. Actually, let's dive a little bit more into Pierre's housing record. He sold 800,000 affordable housing units to corporate landlords when he was the housing minister. 800,000.
When the leader of the opposition was housing minister, he built all of 6 homes. He let half of the country go with $0 to build more rentals. He lost 800,000 units of affordable housing, sold them off to corporate landlords. This is the Conservatives' plan. Cut and privatize. Canadians are worse off.
He voted against bills regarding affordable housing 7 different times, and his top donors are real estate investors hiking rents across Canada. Do you know who benefits from Pierre's policies? Corporate landlords and developers. Under Stephen Harper's government with Pierre as the housing minister, the average home price in Canada skyrocketed by 70%. That is not a coincidence. It's a deliberate choice to prioritize corporate profits over Canadian families. And then when it comes to workers, Pierre's track record isn't just bad, it's genuinely alarming. Pierre has consistently undermined unions, the backbone of worker protections in this country. He's voted against anti-scab legislation over 8 times since 2006, making it very clear that he sides with big corporations over hard-working Canadians. Anti-scab laws are absolutely vital. They make it so that employers can't just bring in replacement workers to break strikes, ensuring that there are fair negotiations between the workers and their employers. That's not all. Pierre has openly supported legislation for right to work. So let me explain why this is a problem. These US-style laws sound harmless, but they are a Trojan horse. They allow workers to benefit from union protections without paying union dues, effectively starving unions of resources and making it harder for them to negotiate wages and advocate for better working conditions or just better protections for the employees overall because they're not getting any money. So as a result, you deal with lower wages, fewer benefits, and weaker workplace protections for everyone. So again, I want to emphasize, in terms of his anti-worker agenda, he has voted against anti-scab legislation 8 times. He supports right-to-work legislation that weakens unions, and he has opposed stronger protections for workers during strikes. And let's not forget his role in raising the retirement age from 65 to 67 under Stephen Harper.
If life expectancy continues to increase, as most forecasts show, then significant increases in the effective retirement age are required to maintain control of the cost of pensions.
For many Canadians, those 2 extra years aren't just inconvenient, they are devastating. Physical laborers, healthcare workers, and just anybody shouldn't have to push their body beyond what they're capable of doing just so that they can make ends meet. On top of that, Pierre also wants to replace secure pension plans with riskier private schemes that fluctuate with the stock market. Imagine losing your retirement savings because of a bad year on Bay Street. I can't even fathom how devastating that would be for someone who is already old, can't get back into the workforce to start their retirement savings all over again, and put their entire life into making sure that they had money set for them when they're retired, only for it to all get tossed into the bin because of some bad investment. And again, it's because it only benefits one group, the billionaires who are playing tic-tac-toe with your money. They're the ones who are going to profit off of these fees, also the ones who run these funds. This is generally the things that he has done throughout his role in government, and it's a pattern. He has shown us over the last 20 years what he is going to do if he becomes prime minister. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is genuinely examples of what he's done when he's been given some power. He has consistently supported policies that benefit billionaires and those who are already powerful, while leaving ordinary Canadians to fend for themselves. As I said before, his top donors include real estate investors and corporate landlords. So now let's talk about the environment. I know climate change is not something that interests a lot of people, but unfortunately it impacts all of us, whether you care or not. The Liberals have taken some meaningful steps, like implementing carbon pricing, which I know Pierre loves to bring up every opportunity he can when someone asks about grocery prices. Like, I've seen a video where someone was like, should I pay for my rent or should I pay for groceries? And he's like, well, Trudeau implemented the carbon tax. And it's like, what about you being buddy-buddy with Galen Weston? Let's talk about that.
But Canadians aren't dummies. And Canadians know that when the member who lives in the 19-room mansion with his own private chef goes on about a carbon tax affecting the price of food, when we know it has been relentless gouging by Loblaws, and we've never ever heard him speak about Loblaws. Canadians aren't dummies when they find out that, hey, Jenny Byrne, his chief boss, is a lobbyist for Loblaws.
Especially people in this country who are making it very difficult for anyone to afford anything, including groceries. Let's talk about that actually, instead of talking about the carbon pricing. But I digress. Back to it. He's voted against environmental protections 400 times. And you expect him to somehow make grocery prices Less expensive? What about the farmers? He opposes carbon pricing and just transition policies altogether. Instead, he promises to expand fossil fuels exports and just build new pipelines in every direction possible. His so-called axe tax is a gift to oil corporations, not to the average Canadian. Let's go over it again. He's voted against environmental protections over 400 times. He supports eliminating major environmental protections, and he's funded by oil executives and lobbyists, period. So you might be thinking, okay, why does any of this matter? Like, yes, Pierre has voted against affordable housing. He's voted against worker protection. He's voted against environmental protections over 400 times. He's voted against everything that we essentially need, especially if you are just a regular person, a regular hardworking Canadian in this country. So why does this matter? Whoever the next prime minister will be, that should be someone who prioritizes the ordinary Canadian. This is workers, families, communities. And honestly, we have already seen this story play out before. Stephen Harper was our prime minister. We saw what that looked like. We saw what the job market looked like. We saw what the economy looked like. We saw what the housing market looked like under Stephen Harper. And honestly, the stakes could not be higher than they are right now. As we face challenges with climate change, housing affordability, and growing inequality, we need leaders who are willing to stand up to corporations and fight for everyday people. And Pierre has proven time and time and time again that he is not that guy. With that being said, I just feel like Canada deserves better. We deserve leaders who actually care about our interests, who care about making a difference, and actually want to make sure that the rest of us, the ordinary Canadian, is not suffering every single day and doesn't go to the grocery store, look at the prices of apples, and literally fall to their knees because of how expensive it is. We actually deserve leaders who are willing to stand up to corporations and have the best interests of the average Canadian at heart. We deserve leaders who fight for fairness, affordability, climate change, and sustainability to make sure that Canada has long-term success. Don't wait for the headlines to tell you what's at stake. Take control of the conversation. Read up on the policies, listen to the potential leaders, and decide who truly has Canada's best interests at heart. This is our country, and it is our responsibility to choose a leader who best reflects that. Ultimately, the future of Canada is in our hands, so let's make sure that we are making the best decision.